Okay, so you got the groundwork, and now you're going to hear about some careers. So, what we're going to talk about this in this set of videos. So, we're going to talk about fashion promotion, working for a designer or a manufacturer. So, there's a whole nother set of careers for fashion promotion. We're working in journalism, which we will talk about later. You will get those careers as well, but this time we're just going to talk about promotion for a designer or a manufacturer. And it's really important because promotion doesn't happen on its own, right? We think, some things go viral by accident. They don't. We see the role that influencers play. So it's really important that we know the careers that help support that. So, think about this. You're an unknown designer, but you want to become significant in the fashion industry, and you want to have followers. So, when you look through magazines like, Vogue or W, you're inundated by promotion that's glossy and sometimes, eyebrow raising. You may see editorial pieces, and those things are all examples of fashion. But styling is promotion, and social media is promotion. So we're going to talk about all of those careers in the next set of slides. It's quite a few, so I'll break it up into bite-sized chunks. And again, as I talk about each career, I will, as always, I will talk about what is required in terms of education, personality traits, qualifications, and always what are the challenges in that career. With the high speed growth of the internet and internet marketing, uh, fashion and fashion public relations and advertising jumped onto social media with both feet, and a new career path developed. And it developed not only in fashion but across all industries. So we're going to speak specifically to what a social media director is going to do in a fashion business. But what their main goal is to develop those tools used on social media websites that communicates with others, right? So their goal is to use Facebook or LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, whatever else just came out, TikTok, whatever. I mean, whatever the new thing is, to reach their target customer. So they do that by number one, we talked about this back in marketing, identifying who their target customer is, and then group those individuals into, factions with similar interests. Once they do that, they determine what social media sites, or where are those people living, right? Where do they live? Where can we find them? And by putting them in these groups, they're able to develop different strategies based on the social media site. So the internet is just filled with millions of individuals who are looking to develop friendships or alliances, or share experiences about fashion and news and culture, and develop friendships. And that is what the social media director's job is to find their people, right? Find the people for their client or business, and make sure that they are reaching them. So, they develop, manage, and oversee the implementation of programs on just a social media venue. And again, social media director can be managing, maybe will be managing several different platforms, right? So wherever their customers are, they'll be doing that. So, back to what the marketing folks did when we talked about marketing in our first lecture. They'll be developing strategic and creative plans. They'll be, integrating projects with marketing and promotional departments. They'll be, managing press interviews. They'll be cultivating relationships. They'll be, of course, managing department resources, because that's what everybody in charge is going to do. So, in terms of degree qualifications, social media is such a new field. such a new field that the educational qualifications are all over the place, right? So in any advertising area, which social media is, advertising promotion area, it's generally a background in business or marketing, um, public relations, advertising, fashion merchandising, right? But this, it could be somebody with a background in computer information systems or, data analytics. There actually is, there is a burgeoning social media marketing discipline, right? So all of those are potential educational backgrounds. Experience is just years of proving, like show and prove. That's what my mom used to say. Show me and prove it to me. Show and prove, right? Show and prove. So experience is just going to be having a broad knowledge of social media tools that are currently in use, being able, like the stylist, to see on the horizon, to see what tools are coming up in the future, and to have some traditional knowledge of fashion press. So that's really important. In terms of personal characteristics, it's just excellent leadership and management skills. And, successful social media directors are described as possessing, futuring skills, right? Having that crystal ball and being able to figure out, to anticipate what the next big thing is. The challenges, though, for the social media director is just they have to manage it. They have to manage social media by the minute, hour, and day and be consistent, right? So creating content. I follow on Instagram, I follow the people I follow because they have good content. At one point, I'm totally dating myself by saying this, but at one point I was following P. Diddy, and he just had too many posts that weren't meaningful. So I just unfollowed. He was living his life on Instagram. But being able to convey the company's message accurately through that online presence is really critical. So those are some of the challenges. Is that oftentimes the job can be 24/7, and you're always stretching yourself to create new content. Much like stylist, event producer, event coordinator, is something that people are like, I could do that. I like planning parties, right? So, what the fashion event producer does, this is a wide array of things. So there are some specialties in fashion event production. So, have you ever been to a pop-up shop or, saw a fashion show, attended a trunk show, went to some bridal extravaganza at some convention center? So if you have, you've seen the handiwork of a fashion event producer. And they're also referred to as these special events coordinators, but in the fashion world, they're more known as fashion event producers. And they have increased visibility now because design houses and brands, they coordinate their events, right? They work with stylists and public relations and social media directors to make sure that they have opportunities to put on these large scale events that allow us to see their brand. Interestingly enough, I read an article 2 days ago about Calvin Klein, how Calvin Klein is no longer going to, they're not going to do runway shows anymore. They're actually closing that section of their business down because it was an advertising expense. Their items that they produced for their runway show brought in such a paltry amount compared to what they would spend to put on the shows that they literally counted it as an advertising expense, that they lost money on their designer brands because people buy their ready to wear. So interestingly enough, fashion events are expensive, and what fashion events producers do is they coordinate and implement all of the activities that are needed to promote a brand, image, idea, organization. Um, and there are a couple of different ways they do that. So, another way to explain it is they create exposure, right? They create exposure, and they create the buzz, right? They create the buzz. So, some of the things that fashion event producers do is, of course, they do fashion shows. They do formal fashion shows or informal fashion shows, and informal fashion shows don't have the extravagant staging or technical assistance and or the supermodels. They just have models, right? Um, they work with conferences and conventions. They do opening ceremonies or line parties. They do trunk shows. Sometimes they just do party planning for a brand. They do philanthropic fashion shows. They do fashion shows that have some type of donation, either with the items being auctioned off or you paying for a ticket to come see a show, and the money then gets donated. So it is a very broad spectrum job. And again, the fashion event producer is much like the stylist. They have to build their reputation. They start small and they work their way up. But qualifications here are a little bit different. Again, a bachelor's degree is not required, but like I said, it never hurts. They could produce a much larger event with only maybe 1 or 2 years experience. But generally, they do start as an assistant to a fashion show producer, and then work their way up. So they the qualifications that they need, though, the personal qualifications, is that they have to be able to work with people at all levels. So they will be talking, if they're working with the brand, they may be talking with everybody from the CEO of the company down to the makeup artist assistants, right? So all up and down the spectrum. They have to be detail oriented and proactive. They have to be calm under pressure, right? Because things could go wrong. And they always have to have a professional demeanor. Challenges are, it's just a lot of work. It's a lot of work. You have to be everything to everybody, so you will be stretched very thin. You have to have a strong sense of not just of fashion, but also of organization, the ability to work in stressful situations, and communication skills, like I said, with a wide variety of people. We're going to close it up with the newest type of fashion event, much like social media director. This one literally, excuse my pun, popped up, right? So pop-up shops, right? These are kind of like hide and seek, temporary boutiques, retail spaces that pop up sometimes within a current retail location. So Nordstrom's may have a pop-up inside of a Nordstrom's, or it may be a vacant retail space that is temporary, so that a brand or designer can quickly draw folks in, open for a limited amount of time, and then disappear, morph into something else. And designers and brands' goal is to add freshness and exclusivity, often a surprise. Often they're pop-up shop exclusives, like you can only get it if you go to the pop-up shop, right? And some brands use them now to do real-time consumer research. Before Payless went bankrupt, they had a very interesting one that you will see in the in the tab going forward. You will see that Payless pop-up that was great. And they want to observe customers and gather data that is meaningful. So whether those items are mass exclusive, or they have some planned spontaneity or some planned obsolescence, they're only going to make it for a limited amount of time. The example of the pop-up is one of the newest types of fashion events.